There are women who seem to have stepped outside the ordinary laws of time. You meet them once, and something about them unsettles you. Their eyes sparkle with a light that feels both ancient and childlike. Their smile carries a warmth that softens the atmosphere around them. It is not simply that they look young, it is that they feel untouched by the heaviness that usually settles on a human face as the years pass. We are used to believing that youth is a matter of skin, of cosmetics, of carefully guarded diets and routines. But if that were the case, why is it that some women, even without striving, appear forever radiant, while others, despite endless effort, seem prematurely aged? What is this strange quality, this invisible aura that time cannot steal? Carl Jung once suggested that the human face is a mirror of the soul. He believed that what we suppress within ourselves eventually writes itself into the lines of our expression. A woman who buries her joy, who denies her inner playfulness, who silences her natural spontaneity, will see her youth fade far more quickly than the passing of years could explain. And yet, a woman who guards something rare, something deeply spiritual, seems to carry with her a fountain of vitality. Perhaps you have seen such a woman. She may not be the youngest in the room, and yet she shines brighter than all the rest. She draws attention without demanding it. People describe her presence as light, fresh, even magnetic. What they are sensing is not simply beauty, it is a spiritual trait, hidden but powerful, that Jung called one of the deepest archetypes of the human psyche. But before we give it a name, pause for a moment. Think of the last time you met someone whose laughter felt pure, whose energy seemed playful, whose eyes reflected a kind of innocent curiosity about life. Did you notice how time seemed irrelevant in their presence? Did you notice how your own heart felt lighter, as if drawn into their secret? Jung believed that within every human being there exists not only the wise elder or the rational adult, but also the eternal child, an archetype that holds wonder, imagination, and vitality. Most people abandon this inner child as they grow older, burying it under responsibility, fear, and the rigid masks demanded by society. But there are rare souls who refuse to let go. They nurture this living flame inside, and it becomes their most powerful gift. And so, the mystery unfolds. Women who appear younger than their years are not simply lucky. They are the carriers of this rare spiritual quality. They are the ones who have not betrayed their soul. They have kept alive the very thing Jung described as the bridge between age and eternity, the living child within. This is why their faces glow. This is why their eyes shine. Time bows before them because they live in a rhythm deeper than time. Now, the question is not only who these women are, but whether you, too, can awaken this rare trait within yourself. Because according to Jung, it is not reserved for the chosen few. It is a gift lying dormant in all of us, waiting to be remembered. Part 2, Introduction to Jung's Idea. Carl Jung was not interested in superficial explanations of human behavior. He looked deeper, into the layers of the psyche, into the archetypes and symbols that live beneath our conscious awareness. For Jung, life was not simply about what we see on the surface. The wrinkles on a face, the tension in a body, even the tone of a voice, all of these were reflections of something far more profound, the state of the inner world. He often remarked that aging, in its truest sense, is not merely a biological process but a psychological one. It is the weight of unresolved emotions, the rigidity of a mind unwilling to grow, and the slow abandonment of the soul's curiosity. This, he believed, is why some people appear to wither long before their time, while others remain mysteriously radiant even in later years. To Jung, youth was not defined by numbers on a calendar. Youth was an attitude, a state of consciousness, a way of being in the world. When we speak of looking young, we often imagine smooth skin or glossy hair. But Jung would say, look deeper. True youth reveals itself in the eyes, in the spontaneity of laughter, in the courage to feel wonder even after a lifetime of hardship. This is where the idea of the rare spiritual trait begins to take shape. Jung observed that those who remain vibrant, who carry a kind of timeless aura, are often those who live in harmony with their unconscious, who have made peace with both light and shadow. Instead of cutting off parts of themselves to fit society's mold, they integrate them. They allow themselves to be whole. And what happens when a person is whole? Their energy flows freely. Their spirit is not fractured by repression or fear. Their face does not become hardened by bitterness or cynicism. Instead, they radiate a vitality that feels strangely ageless. Imagine, for a moment, the opposite. A woman who denies her creativity, silences her joy, hides her tears, and forces herself into roles that do not belong to her. Over time, this disconnection begins to appear in her body, tension etched into her jaw, sadness behind her smile, heaviness in her posture. Even if she invests enormous effort into maintaining her appearance, something is missing, something no cream or cosmetic can restore. Now imagine a woman who listens to her inner life. She honors her emotions rather than suppressing them. She creates, she plays, she remains curious about the world. Even when she suffers, she transforms that suffering into wisdom rather than letting it harden her heart. Such a woman carries herself lightly. She may have lines on her face, but they are lines of laughter and depth, not of despair. People are drawn to her without knowing why. This is the essence of Jung's insight: the body is a canvas, and the soul is the artist. The outer life of a person is always an echo of the inner life. When the inner world is alive, fluid, and whole, the body reflects this vitality. And when the inner world is dry, repressed, or fragmented, the body reflects this as well. So when we see women who seem to glow with youth, who appear untouched by time, Jung would tell us, do not be deceived. Their secret is not hidden in their skin, but in their soul. They are women who live in contact with something eternal inside themselves. And here lies the mystery that few are willing to confront. Every one of us has access to this inner source, but only a few dare to protect it. Society teaches us to grow up, to be serious, to control ourselves. We are told that joy is childish, that wonder is naive, that dreams are impractical. And slowly, people abandon their most precious treasure, the living flame of the soul. Jung called this flame the archetype of the child, a symbol of renewal, innocence, and eternal becoming. Women who preserve this connection do not simply look young. They embody a truth deeper than time itself, that the soul, when honored, keeps us alive, radiant, and unbroken by the years. Part 3, the rare spiritual trait. So what is this mysterious force, this rare spiritual trait that seems to protect certain women from the erosion of time? Carl Jung gave it a name: the archetype of the child. To the ordinary mind, childishness might sound like weakness, immaturity, or even irresponsibility. But Jung meant something profoundly different. The child, in its archetypal form, is not about naivety, it is about vitality, renewal, and an unbroken connection to the life force itself. It is the eternal flame within the psyche that refuses to grow old. Think of a spring hidden deep beneath the earth. Even in the hottest summer, when rivers dry and grass withers, this spring continues to flow. It brings freshness to whatever touches it. The archetype of the child works in the same way. It is the inner source that continually renews the soul, no matter how many seasons of life have passed. Women who carry this archetype are not immune to suffering. They experience loss, betrayal, and hardship like everyone else. Yet, instead of allowing these experiences to bury them under bitterness or despair, they use them as soil in which new life can grow. They remain open. They remain capable of wonder. They still greet the world not with the cynicism of the weary, but with the curiosity of one who knows that every day can reveal something unseen. This is why their faces glow. Youth is not the absence of wrinkles, youth is the presence of light in the eyes. And the light in the eyes is nothing more than the child within, alive and unbroken. Jung once said that the child archetype symbolizes the anticipation of future developments. In other words, it is the part of us that always believes tomorrow can bring something new, something better, something worth living for. The woman who holds on to this faith is never truly old, for her spirit is always becoming, always unfolding. Now consider how rare this is. Most people, as they age, begin to close themselves off. They say, I already know how life works. They stop being surprised, they stop playing, they stop dreaming. Slowly, their soul becomes rigid, and their body follows. This is the common path of aging. But the rare woman, the one Jung described, resists this path. She chooses to protect her inner child, not by escaping responsibility, but by refusing to let responsibility extinguish her spark. She may be a mother, a leader, a professional, but beneath all of these roles, she keeps alive the playful, creative, spontaneous part of herself. And here lies the paradox: society often calls such women youthful, as if it were an external charm. But in truth, what people sense is their authenticity. They are whole. They are not pretending to be young, they are truly alive. It is important to understand, this archetype is not about clinging to the past. It is not about pretending to be a girl again, or denying the reality of age. Jung warned against confusing the eternal child with childish behavior. The difference is vast. Childishness is avoidance of responsibility. The child archetype is the eternal source of renewal that makes responsibility meaningful. A woman in touch with this inner archetype does not fear the years, because she knows she carries within her something timeless. She does not anxiously chase beauty, because her beauty flows from her soul. She does not compete with younger women, because her youth is not a mask, it is a flame that burns from within, untouched by comparison. This is why others are drawn to her. She radiates something people desperately long for, the proof that life does not have to harden us, that joy can survive adulthood, that wonder can live even in maturity. Her presence becomes a living reminder that time may pass, but the soul can remain forever fresh. So when Jung spoke of the women who appear younger than their years, he was not describing a trick of genetics or luck. He was revealing a spiritual truth, that the rarest trait of all is not external beauty, but an unbroken bond with the eternal child within. And those who guard this bond will always seem to walk outside the ordinary rules of time. Part 4, Psychological Explanation. Carl Jung often said that what we repress within ourselves does not simply disappear, it sinks into the unconscious, where it continues to live, waiting for the right moment to return. But while it waits, it drains us. It steals our vitality. It weighs on the body in invisible ways until it finally etches itself into our face, our posture, even the tone of our voice. This is why some people age so quickly. It is not only the sun, or stress, or the passing of years. It is the silent burden of unexpressed emotions, the anger that was never released, the tears that were never cried, the joy that was never allowed to shine. Each unacknowledged feeling becomes like a stone in the heart, and over time, the body bends beneath the weight. Jung described the human psyche as an ecosystem that longs for balance. When we cut off parts of ourselves, our creativity, our playfulness, our desires, the whole system begins to suffer. Imagine a garden where half the plants are denied sunlight. The soil dries, the flowers wither, and even the healthy plants lose their strength. So it is with the soul. But here is the paradox: those who nurture their inner child, those who give themselves permission to laugh, to dream, to create, are replenished. They release the flow of psychic energy, and that energy shows itself outwardly. It softens the face, brightens the eyes, and makes the body feel lighter. Think of two women. One spends her life in rigid control, fearful of mistakes, obsessed with appearances, forever silencing her true feelings to meet the expectations of others. She will appear older than her years, because her soul is tired of pretending. The other woman may face the same hardships, but she allows herself to feel them honestly. She may cry, but she also laughs. She may fail, but she dares to try again. She allows her spontaneity to breathe. Over time, her face becomes a map of resilience rather than exhaustion. People look at her and say, she hasn't aged a bit, not realizing that her secret is inner harmony, not outer effort. Jung would remind us, repression is poison, but authenticity is medicine. When the soul is allowed to express itself fully, it keeps us alive. And life is visible. It shines. Why does this matter? Because in the modern world, we are taught to silence our true selves in order to survive. Women, especially, are often told to suppress their natural emotions, to appear calm, perfect, composed. But the price of this mask is heavy. The child within grows weaker, the energy of the soul is blocked, and the outer appearance begins to mirror the inner fatigue. This is why the rare women Jung described appear timeless. They have learned the secret of integration. They do not deny their shadows, but neither do they drown in them. They accept their imperfections, they forgive themselves, they embrace the full range of being human. In doing so, they remain whole. And wholeness is the true source of vitality. Remember this, it is not laughter that gives you wrinkles, it is the absence of laughter. It is not responsibility that ages you, it is carrying responsibility without joy, without meaning, without connection to the soul. True aging is not the addition of years, it is the subtraction of spirit. And so, when Jung spoke of the youthful woman, he was pointing to a psychological truth: freedom from repression, freedom from masks, freedom from the suffocating weight of unexpressed emotions. A woman who embodies this freedom is radiant, because she is alive in every sense. Her youth is not artificial. It is the natural result of living authentically, of daring to remain connected to the eternal child within, of choosing life over fear, joy over repression, and authenticity over the mask. Part 5, Examples of this trait in action. It is one thing to speak of archetypes and spiritual traits in theory, and another to recognize them in real life. Jung believed that the soul always leaves clues, subtle signs that reveal when someone is in harmony with their inner child. If you look closely, you can recognize these signs in the way certain women move, speak, and simply exist. Picture this: a woman enters a room. She is not the youngest, nor the most decorated, nor the one wearing the brightest colors. And yet, the energy of the room shifts. People turn to her without even knowing why. Her presence carries something light, playful, magnetic. She doesn't try to impress, yet she leaves an impression. That is the power of the archetype alive within her. So what are the tangible signs of this rare spiritual trait? 1. The spark in the eyes. The first and most obvious is the radiance of the eyes. We often hear the phrase, "the eyes are the window of the soul." Jung would agree. Women connected to their inner child have a gaze that is alive, curious, and full of hidden laughter. Even in serious moments, their eyes seem to carry a secret, as if they know that life is more than what it appears to be. 2. Genuine laughter. Their laughter is not forced or polite. It bursts out unexpectedly, freely, like a song of the soul. And it is contagious. Being around them, you feel lighter, as if some invisible weight has been lifted from your shoulders. Laughter, for them, is not entertainment, it is medicine, a reminder that joy is as sacred as wisdom. 3. The ability to see beauty in small things. While others rush through life, blinded by routine, these women notice the small miracles: the way sunlight falls across a table, the joy of a child's question, the fragrance of a flower in passing. They do not merely look, they see. This ability to be moved by simple things is not childishness, it is the sign of a soul still awake to wonder. 4. Lightness in relationships. They do not control or dominate. Instead, they bring warmth, humor, and acceptance. People feel safe around them, free to be themselves. Their relationships are not based on fear or competition but on a sense of play and mutual discovery. They remind others of what it feels like to connect without masks. 5. Resilience through playfulness. When difficulties come, as they always do, these women do not collapse into despair, nor do they harden into bitterness. They meet challenges with a surprising flexibility, as if saying, "This too is part of the game of life." Their inner child gives them the ability to adapt, to bounce back, to turn even pain into a lesson that deepens rather than destroys. 6. Creative expression. You will often find them painting, writing, dancing, or simply inventing new ways to bring joy into their daily lives. Creativity is not a hobby for them, it is the natural expression of a soul that refuses to be silenced. And this creativity becomes a fountain of energy that others can feel when they are near. 7. A smile that heals. Perhaps the most subtle yet powerful sign, their smile. It is not the practiced smile of social etiquette, but one that flows directly from the heart. It is the kind of smile that makes strangers want to smile back, that dissolves tension, that reminds you that life, despite everything, is still beautiful. When Jung spoke of the child archetype, he was not describing fantasy. He was describing this very way of being. A woman who embodies the child does not escape reality, she transforms it. Her presence becomes a mirror, showing others that they too still carry within them the possibility of lightness, joy, and renewal. And notice this, when people are around her, they themselves feel younger. Their worries lessen, their hearts soften, and they too begin to laugh more easily. This is perhaps the greatest proof of all. Youth is not a private possession, it is an energy that spreads. So the next time you encounter such a woman, pause. Do not attribute her glow to good luck or superficial habits. Recognize that what you are witnessing is something rare, a living soul in harmony with itself. A woman who has chosen not to abandon the child within her. This is the rare spiritual trait Jung revealed, not just a symbol, but a living reality that changes the atmosphere wherever it appears. Part 6, Practical Meaning. Carl Jung believed that the treasures of the psyche are not given automatically, they must be discovered, protected, and integrated. The rare spiritual trait that keeps certain women radiant is not a coincidence of fate. It is a conscious relationship with the inner world. And this means that every woman has the potential to awaken it within herself. The first step is permission. Society often tells women to be serious, efficient, composed, and perfect. But Jung would say, before you can be whole, you must give yourself permission to be human, to laugh when you feel joy, to cry when you feel sorrow, to admit your fears, your desires, your dreams. Without this honesty, the inner child suffocates. With it, the child begins to breathe again. The second step is play. Not the shallow play of distraction, but the deep play of creativity. To paint without worrying if the picture is good enough. To dance without caring who is watching. To sing simply because your soul needs to sing. Play is sacred because it reconnects us with the part of ourselves that is eternal. A woman who plays is not wasting time, she is feeding the flame of her vitality. The third step is curiosity. The child archetype thrives on wonder. Ask questions, even about the familiar. Notice the details that others ignore. Allow yourself to be surprised by life. Curiosity keeps the psyche flexible, and flexibility is the antidote to aging. The rigid mind grows old, the curious mind remains young. The fourth step is authentic connection. Women who preserve their youthfulness surround themselves with relationships that nourish, not drain. They are not afraid to show vulnerability, to laugh freely, to love deeply. They avoid people who demand masks and roles, and they seek those who welcome authenticity. Jung would say, the soul starves in an environment of falseness. To remain whole, you must protect the spaces where your childlike essence feels safe. The fifth step is creative transformation of suffering. Life inevitably brings wounds. But the woman in touch with her inner child does not allow those wounds to harden her into bitterness. Instead, she transforms them, through art, reflection, storytelling, or service. She does not deny pain, she turns pain into meaning. And in this alchemy, she remains vibrant rather than broken. The sixth step is rituals of renewal. In Jungian psychology, rituals connect us with the unconscious. This could be as simple as journaling your dreams in the morning, walking in nature with full presence, lighting a candle for your inner self, or meditating on images that inspire you. These rituals remind the psyche that it is more than flesh and bone, it is a living mystery. The inner child awakens when life feels sacred again. And finally, the seventh step is integration. The point is not to escape into childishness, but to weave the childlike spirit into maturity. A truly youthful woman is not irresponsible, she is deeply responsible, but she carries her responsibilities with joy. She may be a mother, a leader, a professional, but she never abandons the part of herself that laughs, creates, and dreams. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole by uniting all parts of the self. In practical terms, this means saying yes to moments of wonder. Allowing imperfection instead of chasing control. Choosing authenticity over appearances. Protecting spaces where joy can breathe. Do this, and your body will respond. Your face will soften. Your energy will rise. Your presence will grow magnetic. Not because you are denying age, but because you are living from a place that is deeper than age. This is the meaning of Jung's insight: true youth cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. It is the natural expression of a soul in harmony with itself. The woman who awakens her inner child is not escaping time, she is living in the eternal rhythm beneath time. And that is why she appears radiant when others do not. Part 7, Final Message. At the end of the day, youth is not measured in years. It is measured in spirit. Carl Jung reminded us that the outer world is always a reflection of the inner world, and that the vitality of the soul manifests in ways that no clock or calendar can touch. The rare women we have been speaking about are radiant not because of genetics, cosmetics, or luck, but because they live in alignment with something eternal inside themselves. Imagine for a moment a flame in a dark room. It does not ask permission to shine. It does not compete with the shadows, it simply exists, and in its existence, it transforms everything around it. That is what these women are like. Their energy flows naturally, effortlessly. People feel it the moment they enter a room. They are lights in a world that often forgets how to glow. But here is the truth that Jung quietly offers: this is not reserved for a select few. This is a gift within all of us. Every woman has access to the archetype of the child, the eternal spark of renewal, joy, and authenticity. What makes it rare is not that it is hidden, but that most people forget to nurture it. They allow fear, routine, and social expectation to bury it under layers of obligation. To awaken this spark is to choose life over resignation. It is to embrace imperfection, to laugh when life feels heavy, to marvel at the ordinary, to create, to dream, and above all, to remain curious. It is to live with the profound understanding that joy is not childish, it is the essence of vitality. Jung believed that integration of the self, of shadows, desires, strengths, and vulnerabilities, is the path to wholeness. The woman who remains youthful through decades is one who has walked this path with courage. She has looked into her inner world and refused to abandon the child within, no matter what the world demanded of her. She has carried her burdens, yet she has not allowed them to harden her heart. She has faced suffering, yet she has transformed it into wisdom and grace. This is why her beauty is different. It does not fade like paint on a wall. It is not fragile like glass. It is the beauty of life lived fully, of a soul that continues to breathe, grow, and play. People sense this immediately, even if they cannot articulate it. They feel the vitality radiating from her presence. They feel the energy of someone who has chosen to remain alive to herself, alive to others, alive to the mysteries of existence. And here is the final lesson: you, too, can cultivate this rare trait. You do not need to chase youth in mirrors or magazines. You do not need to fight the passing of years. Instead, honor your inner child. Give it space to play. Listen to your own heart. Live with curiosity, with joy, and with authenticity. Transform your suffering into creativity. Surround yourself with people who nurture your spirit, not drain it. Create rituals that reconnect you with the eternal rhythm of life. Do this, and you will notice subtle changes at first: a lightness in your step, a sparkle in your eyes, a warmth in your presence. Over time, others will notice too. They will say you look younger, brighter, almost untouched by time. And they will be correct, but only partially. The true secret lies not in the body, but in the soul. The flame within you, once nurtured, cannot be dimmed. Carl Jung once wrote that the soul has its own wisdom, one that surpasses the intellect. It speaks in symbols, feelings, and impulses. The woman who carries this rare spiritual trait listens to this wisdom. She is guided by it. And in doing so, she becomes timeless. She becomes a living reminder that youth is not a matter of years, but of spirit. So embrace the child within. Protect it, cherish it, and allow it to shine. Live in such a way that even when the world grows older, your soul remains forever young. This is the rarest gift, and it is waiting for you.